May I request, may I plead with governors to settle down as the panel is constituted?
Princess, isn't it? Yeah, it's not. Let me just organize the. Just get the. This is open. Yeah. So in terms of, let's move over. Yes. No. Um, okay. Yeah. Okay, you want me to? At this time, I would like to invite our heads of state and heads of government from the Presidential Lounge to make their way into the main hall for the commencement of the presidential dialogue. Please, as they make their entrance, kindly rise. So, Our Excellencies, kindly make your way to your seats. For those of you who are in the Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Okay. Thank you very much, Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, in the hallway and in the aisles, please take your seats. The presidential dialogue is about to begin. That being said, please make yourself comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the presidential dialogue of these 2022 annual meetings of the African Development Bank Group. My name is Victor Oladokun, and it really is a pleasure to host and moderate this presidential dialogue in the beautiful city of Accra, and opportunities. Considering that Africa, like the rest of the world, is only just coming out of almost 2 years of isolation brought on about by the pandemic that literally took the world by storm and by surprise, the development challenges to overcome and the opportunities before us are tremendous. In the interest of time, we have cut down our panels from 2 panel discussions to 1 panel discussion. And we're going to move, we've heard quite a bit in the speeches, the excellent speeches that were provided earlier in the opening session. But we're going to try and move from the global picture concerning Africa to a more specific country and contextual basis. That being said, it gives me great honor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to introduce very quickly our panelists this afternoon. None of us would be here today but for His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic. You've all experienced Ghanaian hospitality. I'm sure we can do a whole lot better than what we just did right now. Kindly give the President a warm round of applause. Also join me in welcoming to the podium His Excellency Felipe Jacinto Inyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique. Joining us and that we'll be able to see him in a few seconds. Please give him a warm welcome. Also, please, a very, very warm AFDB welcome to Her Excellency, Mrs. Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda, representing His Excellency Mr. Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda. Please, let's give him a really, really warm. And finally, but not the least, representing His Excellency President Alassane Ouattara, is His Excellency Teomoko Millet Kone, the Vice and I'll take a seat in a few moments, but I'm going to start with President Akufo-Addo. As you said earlier in your speech, and as Dr. Adishna also alluded to, and the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, this year Ghana is commemorating Nkrumah at 50. Well, it's also quite a coincidence that the ADF is also celebrating the ADF at 50. I think there's a really, really nice ring to 50. So how about ADF at 50 billion? I think that's really a good start for us today. I don't seem to have concurrence here. Thank you very much. We've been talking about ambition, and I think that really is an ambitious
electricity and the electrification. These are all critical aspects of the Ghanaian economy, and the bank has been very supportive of the developments and the initiatives that we have taken here in Ghana, and it continues to be. I mean, the most dramatic and obvious one is what President Adesina went to see the other day, the three-tier interchange, which has now been transformed into a four-tier interchange. And it's a tourist attraction in Ghana today. A lot of people come and have a look. But that's the most obvious. But there are several areas of our national life where, so that is why we're extremely concerned about the steps that ought to be taken collectively by all of us to strengthen the bank. I'm always upset to hear that external agencies are in a position to fund more projects in Africa than our own development. Pool of resources out there in the globe that would enable them to play this primary function of being responsible for the development and the financing of the development of the country. And I think there are some things that are obvious that need to be done. I have to look at the constitution of the bank, the constitution of the ADF. Money is. You hear of the figures about monies that are, if you like, in private hands as against those in public resources, and the difference is stark. And we can't get at where the money is because it's very difficult to see how they can fulfill their primary function. But I believe these are some of the matters that are on the table here, and we should be looking at and trying to find solutions. Fortunately for the bank, it has a lot of support from various parts of the world. They're called regionals, who are part of the governance structure of the bank. So that the discussion is a discussion that can find, if you like, even solutions within the bank itself. People who are here representing other interests in the globe, with whom the engagement can be direct and fruitful.
Very much, President Akufo. But I'm going to follow up very quickly again with another question for you. And I'll go around the panel in just a moment. Ghana, Ivory Coast, have been big on agriculture for many years. You're one of the world's leading cocoa producers. My grandfather was a cocoa farmer. but he never tasted a bit of chocolate in his whole life. The reason was because there really wasn't a value chain addition at the time. Africa still has challenges in this regard. What specifically is Ghana doing in this regard, and how does that relate to the work that you're involved with the African Development Bank, to add value to that which you produce, so that again we can have the food security that we've talked about earlier today?
I think that is, I mean, there are two major issues that we have to address in the cocoa industry in Ghana. Get their due for their labor. Historically, I think that the initiatives that President Ouattara and I have jointly fashioned, the living income differential, which is guaranteeing a certain minimum level of income to our farmers, is a very important step towards that. And the second, of course, is the matter that you have raised. How come an industry that is supposed to generate, on the average, over $100 billion worth of resources, only 6 to 7 billion of it comes to the two countries that are responsible for 2/3, nearly 70% of the world's output of cocoa? So, and the reason is very simple. All the value is created outside Cote d'Ivoire, is created outside Ghana. And how we can then now develop in such a way that we have entities in our countries which can address this deficiency and produce our chocolate. We've set certain limits for the cocoa marketing, for Cocoa Board, whereby I believe it's over a 3-year period. We want to have 50% of the output of our farmers being processed domestically. Confronting government, and we have to find a solution. Because the present situation is not tenable. That 10% of the value created from cocoa is returned to the farmers and to the producers, and the others go to all the people in the various middle levels of value addition. That is not a viable long-term arrangement for the industry. So the question you've asked, I think, is an extremely important one, and it is one that our government is exceptionally sensitive to. And hopefully, some of the measures that we have put on the table would enable us to achieve a much better result in the years ahead.
Thank you very much, President. Next to the Right Honorable Dr. Edward Ngirente, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda. Now, prior to COVID-19, your country had an astonishing growth rate of 9.4%. Astounding number.
And for me and for us, we think that's giving a chance to other countries to implement different reforms. So I'm sure we think that I'm responding to a non-asked question, but it's because I know this is being discussed across the globe, and I want to start by saying that we support that as a country members, and we think that is giving those low-income countries and fragile countries to implement different reforms, because that money goes with some condition which helps those countries to improve their systems. So now you are asking me to share with our colleagues here our Rwandan experience in overcoming, the COVID pandemic consequences and how we are trying to money to be circulating over there and to support that education sector. And that's because we believe in human capital development. But one is the recovery fund, which is kind of an amount of money we are putting in place to help those most hit sectors, which include hospitality, hotels, and other economic activities. That was the first phase of the recovery fund. And now, last week, I've launched a second phase of recovery fund, which is going to be really helping different sectors, from the big activity to those small businesses. The second one I can mention is that with COVID, you have learned something very important. We have learned that there are some products you don't produce locally in Rwanda, where you have that capacity to do so. And we have called them must-have products. And what we have done, we have listed them, and we have put in place a list of incentives to tell people, if you come and want to invest in this subsector, 1 year. To give you the list, but
thank you very much, Prime Minister Ingirente. We're going to come next to President Samia Hassan, who is the first woman Vice President of Tanzania, the first woman President also of Tanzania, and you're very well familiar with challenges, having come to office as President during a time of national crisis. In the taking office, you've become an inspiration to women, not just in Africa, but all over the world. For the lack of a better word, you've attained rather a rock star status. At least that's my humble submission. And you're doing a phenomenal job in Tanzania. Since taking office, what would you consider to be the major challenges that you've had to overcome, and what solutions are you bringing to the table?
It's a difficult question, though. But the major challenges when I came in the office, the first one, as you said rightly, that I was the first female in East Africa to be the president, and Tanzania particularly. So the first challenge was a trust to make people of Tanzania have a trust on me that I can deliver, I can run the country. That so challenging task of expectation is to go back to 6.87 by 2025. Countries. The regions and districts of Tanzania are well connected by beautiful roads. But then they are supporting us on construction of the airports and aviation sector. They've been supporting us in agriculture. So with the support from FDB and other multilateral organizations, I've done well. As a bailout, economic bailout from the COVID-19 pandemic. And then I think most of the countries used that money classroom. Our classrooms had 100 to 120 pupils in one classroom. So I've been able to decongest them, and now I'm having 45 to 50 in one classroom. But then I thought COVID means availability of water. So I've taken that money and used them for supplying clean and safe water to most part of my country. And when I came in, the availability of water was about around close to 80%. And I'm expecting by 2025, I'll be 95 in urban areas and 85 in villages. So, but then I've also used that money for health, because COVID means starting treating people at the level of villages. So I've constructed about 350 health centers using that money, plus so I've done something which has never been done before, but my thanks to the African Development Bank, and I congratulate them for turning 50, and they say voice.
Note qu'il a sur le plan mondial par rapport à ça. De la BAD, effectivement, c'est au profit de l'Afrique. Et c'est pourquoi, effectivement, nous devons tous voir les voies et moyens de faire un lobbying au niveau de tous les partenaires bio-multilatéraux, comment ils peuvent financer la FAD, mettre à la disposition de l'argent à la BAD, pour qu'ils puissent, la question que vous avez posée spécifiquement, qu'on puisse trouver les moyens d'y apporter les solutions. Donc, en ce qui concerne le climat, effectivement, ça a été dit, l'Afrique qui affecte le climat, et c'est nous qui subissons les conséquences. Mais néanmoins, on n'a pas le choix, on doit gérer. Et c'est pourquoi ce problématique d'énergie renouvelable, on doit y prendre en compte. Et ici, au Comores, Dieu merci, nous avons de très bonnes potentialités, que ce soit en géothermie, que ce soit en solaire, que ce soit en photovoltaïque. Donc, de ce côté-là, il y a des projets qui sont en cours qui peuvent nous aider à avoir l'énergie pour essayer de amoindrir un peu les effets de ce problème climatique. Donc, de ce côté-là, je remercie les partenaires multilatéraux pour l'appui qu'ils nous font. Par rapport à la question spécifique du Covid. Donc, le Covid est venu en 2019, pendant que les Comores, nous avons lancé un programme qu'on appelle le Plan émergent des Comores 2030. On a fait une conférence à Paris et ceux qu'on a invités, Dieu merci, ils ont fait de très belles annonces. Mais avec Covid, on a été un peu plombé. Donc maintenant, on a géré Covid. Et je remercie le peuple comorien, tous nos partenaires, parce que quand même, ils ont été à nos côtés, on l'a bien géré. Et maintenant, on est dans une très bonne situation. Donc, avant le Covid, nous avions une croissance qui a été prévue de 4,5% et il est tombé à 0,2%. et maintenant on doit relever. En tout cas, on est dans la voie pour essayer de relever ce défi et jusqu'alors le Covid, il est maîtrisé. Donc on va aller à ce plan émergent. Donc nous avons une autre obligation, c'est l'autosuffisance alimentaire pour essayer de pallier mais nous, on a un climat qui peut nous apporter à avoir une autosuffisance alimentaire, mais surtout, nous avons des frais de rente qu'on voudrait demander à ce que les entrepreneurs viennent ici les transformer. On aura une valeur ajoutée, on aura du travail pour les jeunes, mais écoutez, pour le problème jeune, c'est une deuxième question, c'est le problème de la sécurité. On ne peut pas se passer de la sécurité. Parce qu'on sait que ces jeunes qui ne sont pas formés, qui ne travaillent pas, ils sont à la disposition des rapaces pour les manipuler et faire les opérations anti-extrémistes de tous bords. C'est pourquoi, de ce côté-là, c'est un palier qu'on doit prendre compte. Donc, effectivement, nous avons géré le Covid. Il faut prévenir ces catastrophes par le renouvelable, mais aussi avoir de quoi alimenter lorsque ça va venir. Donc, de façon à ce qu'aujourd'hui, mais la deuxième phase, c'est la sécurité, c'est le travail des jeunes. On doit s'y mettre. Pour ne pas être trop long, je vais conclure par vous. En Afrique, on produit. Donc là, effectivement, on doit stocker ces produits, pouvoir les vendre. Et demain, l'Afrique sera un marché qui va consommer, parce que la population va ajouter. Donc il faut qu'on se prépare pour cette consommation. Une consommation locale qu'on va produire ici, et pour cas aussi un import pour Merci, M. Adesina. Nous sommes avec vous et je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, President Azali Assoumani, again for the endorsement. The investor pitch there, tremendous potential in food and renewable energy. We'll come next to our next panelist, and that will be His Excellency of Mozambique. Your country also, like many others, is dealing with quite a number of challenges, but also the G20 has put in place a common framework to help countries address their debt situation. Mr. President, what is your country doing to address Mozambique's debt challenges in the light of some of the challenges that we're dealing with on a continental basis and globally?
Thank you, moderator. You know, in African Union, you are speaking Portuguese, in English, French, Arabic. Allow me to speak in Portuguese now. Bom, a pergunta foi bem introduzida. O Moçambique, não só a dívida, porque a dívida é um desafio comum de todo o mundo, de toda a África. Nós temos desafios como os que me antecederam falaram sobre mudanças climáticas. Só para vos recordar que nos últimos 20 anos, o maior ciclone em África foi em Moçambique, Chamari, onde todo e destruiu o meu país. achamos o desafio de uma parte do meu país, que é um conflito, que é um desafio enorme, mas também temos a questão da transição de energia, que parecendo que é pequeno, mas é um problema que pode, sobremaneira, não ser bem tratado, dificultar o crescimento dos países, sobretudo os países em desenvolvimento, com novos horizontes, novas esperanças. Não quis falar aqui dos desafios resultantes da guerra da Ucrânia. Quando que um país não contrai muitas dívidas? Não contrai muitas dívidas quando aumenta a sua produção, quando aumenta as suas exportações e importa menos. Não contrai dívidas quando tem a disciplina financeira. Tanto tem que haver maior transparência, mas também os processos fiscais, a macroeconomia como é gerida por si só. Esse vai ditar com que as dívidas não sejam contraídas de forma irracional. Portanto, nós embarcamos nesta batalha num bom tempo onde vivemos à nossa custa, e isso, a solução foi sempre mais produção e, sobretudo, naquelas áreas que são tradicionais para Moçambique, que é a agricultura, que é a pesca e também os transportes. Nós temos os corredores enormes de grande impacto a nível regional da SADC, a partir dos seus portos, as ferrovias e as estradas. Então é preciso aumentar também ou capacitar e qualificar essas infraestruturas. Boas estradas, boas linhas férreas, bons portos, e isso por si só faz com que o país tenha mais proveitos, tenha mais receitas do que os consumos e reduza a dívida. Portanto, neste momento, dependendo da sua pergunta, foi muito direta, digo, a disciplina financeira, mais produção e também incentivos para as áreas produtivas, neste caso o setor privado. Nós estamos a influenciar muito para que os momentos da produção do setor privado sejam enormes, porque estes investimentos por si só eu sou engenheiro, não se dá muitas voltas, vai direto à resposta. Obrigado.
President, you see, and even when we period of time, what potentially will be one of the largest gas production systems in the world. So congratulations to you and to Mozambique in that regard. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And we're going to come to His Excellency, the Vice President of Côte d'Ivoire, Vice President Kone, representing President Alassane Ouattara. Well, for 57 years, Your Excellency, Côte d'Ivoire has really been an excellent host for the African Development Bank headquarters, and it's been a beautiful, mutually beneficial relationship with more than 70 staff from 70 countries represented at the bank. I understand from many colleagues that even when they go home, they cannot wait home to Abidjan, and that really says a lot about the impact of traditional Ivorian hospitality. So we want to thank you
président Ouattara, que je représente ici. Il aurait bien voulu être là, mais il n'a pas pu le faire et je pense en principe que ces salutations seront transmises à chacun des membres qui participent. Alors, vous avez posé deux questions en une. Premièrement, en ce qui concerne la BAD, qui est en Côte d'Ivoire, c'est une question sur laquelle je ne peux pas passer. Parce que si je passe, mon frère, que je n'ai pas apprécié le fait qu'il soit à la BAD et qu'il fasse ce qu'il fait. C'est vrai que, vous l'avez dit tout à l'heure, la Côte d'Ivoire a toujours été une terre hospitalière et elle est heureuse d'avoir accueilli la BAD. Je le dis parce que cette ouverture est enrichissante pour notre pays et c'est quelque chose auquel le président Ouattara tient particulièrement parce qu'il n'y a que de richesse que d'hommes, comme on le dit. Et si en plus, il se trouve que cette institution, dans son rôle et avec les besoins de la Côte d'Ivoire, et que vous circulez la nuit, vous verrez que pratiquement tous les villages et tous les hameaux sont éclairés. Même parfois quand il n'y a pas un monde extraordinaire. Et ça, c'est important. Si vous passez et que vous voyez le système d'adduction d'eau, l'eau courante coule un peu partout. Je crois que c'est des investissements sociaux très importants que le pays a pu faire avec l'aide de la... Je terminerai par le programme social du président qu'il a soutenu et qui aujourd'hui fait la fierté de beaucoup d'Ivoiriens. Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour cela. La deuxième question que vous avez posée, c'est comment, avec un taux de croissance au départ, avec la Covid, si j'ai bien compris, comment... là-dessus. Certains secteurs comme les transports et comme l'hôtellerie ont pratiquement chuté dans leurs activités. Il a fallu les soutenir. Et je crois que l'État a fait un effort important de soutien à beaucoup de secteurs, secteurs sociaux, secteurs frappés par la pandémie, pour que ces secteurs puissent passer la période difficile. Et je pense que ça a été une bonne initiative, la profondeur de la pandémie. La Côte d'Ivoire a terminé en 2020 avec un taux de croissance de 2%, alors que dans beaucoup de pays, on était à des taux de croissance négatifs. Donc cela a été une bonne approche. Et bien sûr, en 2021, avec tous les éléments qui ont été mis en place, notamment les plans de développement triennaux que la Côte d'Ivoire a mis en place, la croissance est repartie en 2021 à 7,1%. Et je pense qu'avec toute la politique à la fois sociale et d'investissement qui a été entrepris dans le nouveau plan de développement, nous pensons pouvoir maintenir comme auparavant un taux de croissance d'au moins 7% pour les années à venir. Voilà ce que je peux vous dire sur ce qui a été fait en ce qui concerne.
Thank you very much, Vice President Kone. Very much appreciated. I'm going to crave your indulgence here and ask one last question of one head of state, and that is to President Inyusi. And there's a reason for that. I know that you did not have sufficient enough time in your response to really go into some detail, and I don't want you to leave this beautiful hall not having that opportunity to be able to do so. But the question to you is this. We've talked significantly here about a just energy transition. And there are quite a number out there who have also talked about gas not being included in Africa's energy mix, which our position as the bank is pretty much clear about. Gas will be part of Africa's energy mix. What is your position on this, President Inyusi, particularly with regards to those who might criticize Africa in this regard? Keeping in mind, again, we've recently seen a situation in which gas lines or pipelines to some European countries have been shut down, and we know the impact of that on those economies. Over to you, President Inyusi, to help us put that in perspective for Africa. And that will be our final question today.
Bom, excelente pergunta. E gostaria que o mundo desse prioridade, desse oportunidade também à África. Porque este é o exemplo. Temos o carvão, mas muito carvão e carvão de qualidade. Temos o gás, que se diz é muito ardente. Temos os ventos e também temos o mar, para além dos rios, como todos sabem que das 15 bacias da África Austral, 9 desaguam através de Moçambique. Por isso que temos a hidroelétrica de Cabora Bassa, que já existe, e vamos fazer mais outras hidroelétricas, porque temos capacidade para isso. Mas comecei por dizer que a África tem que ser dada a oportunidade para poder surgir. Se nós não dermos praticamente similar àquelas que o Banco Africano está a defender. Obrigado.
His Excellency Azali Assoumani of the Union of Comoros. I'd like to say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, that leadership is the capacity to see you continue to do this for your respective countries and for us in Africa. Our distinguished panelists today have provided us with much thought leadership on what is needed and a roadmap for how we need to get Africa to where we want Africa to be.
It is by invitation, strictly by invitation. Please take the Excellencies to the photo wall now so that the pictures can be taken.